I have no idea what this video is anymore. I thought of this video at like 3 a.m. I'm very tired, and I just want to do this video because I thought it would be interesting to talk about. But here we go. What if Izzy was not medically evacuated in Total Drama World Tour? Alright, so we have the eliminations thus far. We have Duncan, Ezekiel, Harold, Bridget, Lashana, and Lindsay. And then we have the final 11 competitors remaining. Amazon, Cody, Courtney, Gwen, Heather, and Sierra, Team Chris, Alejandro, Izzy, Noah, Owen, Tyler, and then the lonely Team Victory, DJ. So we start off this episode with Owen wanting to break up with Izzy, and I don't know if he's gonna want to do that still, but I think Noah probably like wouldn't encourage it maybe now because I think Noah would start to be suspicious of Alejandro now. So he wouldn't tell Owen to break up with Izzy because he wouldn't want Izzy to go over to Alejandro. So I think Izzy and Owen would still be able to get out of the plane. Would still get out of the plane. So Owen would probably plan to break up with Izzy despite Noah telling him not to because he sees how terrible Izzy is being. But I think that when they fall out of the plane, they wouldn't get injured enough, but they would still get to sit out of the challenge. So the first part of the challenge remains the same. Everything happens that's the same. DJ still has the fish. Alejandro's still trying to manipulate DJ. Everything remains that the same, except now Izzy and Owen. No, I mean, Izzy wouldn't get medically evacuated and taken by the military, but she would still be very smart and be Brainzilla now. Gwen would come into the infirmary now and be out of the challenge, and Owen would talk with Gwen in private while Izzy's like doing math or something about maybe wanting to break up with Izzy and Gwen. Gwen can't really give relationship advice right now because she's secretly wanting to be with Duncan. So Gwen's just like saying things like, "Oh, I don't know, don't ask me," and things like that. But I think the challenge would probably play out the same. Izzy and Owen are now back in the challenge because originally the doctors okayed Owen to compete, so I think they would just also okay Izzy. So I think that everything would remain the same, and now Alejandro would still sabotage the challenge and get DJ to lose. So I think DJ would still go in this episode. I don't see anything that would change that. So Team Victory is no more. Moving on to the aftermath, nothing else really changes with the aftermath, so we can skip that. Episode 13, I See London. This episode doesn't really change either for the most part. I mean, it starts off the episode with Alejandro getting taken by Zeke at the very beginning because he was trying to get into first class. So Alejandro is under the challenge at first. And at the first part of the challenger, they changed the guards. Uh, Everything would remain relatively the same. They'd still sing the song. And originally, it was Noah and Owen that were starting to that did rock paper scissors to get Tyler to go. And I think that would remain the same because Izzy's smart now, so she wouldn't want to be a cause for the loss. So she would still okay Tyler doing it. And Team Amazon would probably still finish first with Sierra doing it, and they'd go ahead of Team Chris. So originally it was Owen that had like the hat on with the clue. I think because Izzy is now Brightzilla, she would tell Owen to remove the hat and it would reveal the clue. And Noah would be surprised and ask how Izzy knew about it, and she just said it was an obvious guess. So Team Chris moves on about at the same time as Team Amazon. So they get to uh the little stretchers, and I'm not sure if they had separate stretchers for each team. So for the sake of this what if, I'm just going to say that they don't, and they get there around and Team Amazon gets there first, and when Team Chris gets there, they have to wait. But Team Amazon would still stretch Heather. Oh yeah, and before this, Cody and Sierra would get taken by Zeke. And then Team Amazon would still stretch Heather. Nothing would change about that. Team Amazon would go to the dining room before Team Chris. And while I think Tyler would still volunteer to stretch for Team Amazon, I mean Team Chris, and because Izzy wouldn't want to do it. I don't think Izzy would want to do it. I think Tyler would probably still want to do it. And while they're stretching Tyler, Noah would still say the things about Alejandro being an eel, and Izzy, Owen, and Noah agreeing to vote for Alejandro at the next elimination if they lose. I don't think that they would leave Tyler anymore because Izzy would probably be smart and tell them they left Tyler, so they'd go back and get Tyler out of the stretcher, so they wouldn't leave Tyler. They're going to the dining room. Team Amazon gets in there first. Heather stays outside, gets captured by Zeke, so it remains Courtney and Gwen and Courtney. So for Team Chris, I think that Noah, Izzy, and Owen would go into the dining room first. Tyler would get left behind while he's trying to get through and get taken by Zeke. So because Owen was able to figure out the the clue and be able to go to the double decker bus, I think Izzy will be able to do it easily as well because she's Brainzilla now. So while Courtney and Gwen go looking around some other place different, I can't remember exactly where they said, but I think they said something like a banquet hall. Oh, wait, no, that was the dining hall that, never mind. But Gwen and Courtney would go someplace different. Probably the same, they're going to go to the same punk club where they found Duncan originally. So, uh, Izzy, Owen, and Noah would get to the double-decker bus first. Owen would get captured and Izzy would see and warn Owen. Owen would still release the corgis. Everything would remain the same there. Owen would release the corgis, and Izzy would probably be able to capture Zeke, and Team Chris would still capture Zeke, and Team Amazon would still find Duncan. And after that, they would reveal that Jack the Ripper was Zeke, and that Duncan was captured by Gwen and was captured. So I think it would still remain the same, where Duncan joins Team Chris now, and not being able to be voted out. Zeke wouldn't come into the game because obviously he's Zeke wouldn't come into the game because he is got got captured, so he didn't win. I don't think Izzy would change anything about that. And even though it's really dumb, Chris would still give Team Amazon the win because they found Duncan, which is still really stupid. So Team Chris would still go to elimination. And I think this would play out as a tie. Izzy, Owen, Noah voting for Alejandro, Tyler, and Duncan all voting for Noah. Because Alejandro and Tyler would still spend time together. Not as much time, but enough time I think that we have Alejandro be able to convince to convince Tyler to vote for Noah. Yeah, and I think the tiebreaker challenge would probably be something about feeding the corgis or something because that was part of the challenge. It would have something to do with the challenge. Maybe they'd have to find something around the plane, but either way, I think Alejandro would be able to win easily, meaning Noah is eliminated here. Moving on to episode 14. The episode would start out with Owen and Izzy feeling on the bottom because Alejandro. Oh yes, I forgot to mention Duncan and Gwen would still kiss at the end, and Tyler would still see. Anyways, moving on to episode 14, it would open with Owen and Izzy feeling on the bottom for Alejandro being able to get Noah out, and they would be worried that they would be next. Everything would pretty much be the same. Courtney and Gwen would still start to be a little bit more friends. Heather would see this and be Heather would see this, and on Team Chris, everything would still remain pretty much the same. Alejandro and I mean Duncan and Tyler would still have their little moment at the beginning where Duncan is knows that Tyler knows that he kissed Gwen, and Alejandro would see this, but I think also Izzy would notice this because she's smart now, so she'd be able to know that Tyler can be easily take flipped over. So moving on to the challenge, I think Duncan and Gwen would still do the first part with the first challenge, and Gwen would still get a medal. For the second challenge, I think the pairs would still be like Tyler and Courtney fighting, Owen and Sierra still fighting, and now it's Cody and Izzy. It doesn't really matter because they're all gonna fight each other, but I know that Tyler didn't want to hit a girl or whatever, so Courtney would still beat him. And then while Sierra is fighting, I think it was Owen, she would say Owen would still knock Cody out of the challenge, by the way, I forgot to mention that. And Courtney would still call Cody a pipsqueak, meaning Sierra would attack Courtney and knock each other out, and I think Owen and Izzy would be able to pin both of them, meaning they get one medal each. Moving on to the final part of the challenge, it is still Alejandra versus Heather, and meaning Heather would still win, meaning the score is still tied 2-2. And for the tiebreaker challenge, I think it will still be Cody and Tyler doing the challenge. I don't think Izzy would want to do it because again, she's trying to lay under the radar and not be the cause of any losses. So I think it would still remain the same. Not Cody, Tyler would still blab about Duncan and Gwen kissing, and Courtney would be furious. Izzy wouldn't really have much of a reaction because she wouldn't really care, so that doesn't really change. But Cody would still beat Tyler, meaning Team Chris has to go to elimination. Originally, this was a non-elimination round, but because there's one extra person, I think that Chris would just have to settle for eliminating Duncan here because, he can't really afford to have a non-elimination this round because, there's too many people. So Duncan would be eliminated with all four of them voting for Duncan. Moving on to episode 15, Alejandro wouldn't tell Courtney to flirt with Tyler because Duncan's gone and Courtney would have no one to make jealous. So her flirting with Tyler wouldn't really make any sense. Courtney would still be targeting Gwen very much and says in the confessional that she wants to throw the challenge. Izzy and Owen are still happy to be in the middle and at least in a tie situation. Alejandro and Tyler are still working very much together. And Izzy and Owen still want to break up with each other but have not ended it with each other because they don't. Well, Izzy doesn't want to ruin and no allies, and Owen just likes Izzy still. But moving on to the challenge, everything with Team Amazon would remain the same except Gwen wouldn't kiss Duncan in the area, so that would still happen. And Owen would still be captured by Area 51. Izzy would feel alone in the challenge, and Alejandro would try flirting with her. I don't know if Alejandro would flirt with someone on the same team because usually he flirts with someone and gets them eliminated. But we saw him flirting with Gwen in the original All Stars, so I think that he would probably flirt with Izzy to try to get him on his side to vote for Owen at the next elimination, which wouldn't work because because she's Brainzilla right now, she's way smarter. So everything would still be the same with Izzy. Well, Izzy would just turn down Alejandro, and Alejandro would get angry and want to vote out Izzy soon. So the challenge would still remain the same. Tyler would find Owen and be able to free him. Oh yeah, Alejandro still does the revenge hypnotic thing and be able to have Owen do the embarrassing dance. And Izzy would notice this and start to get very skeptical of Alejandro. During this part, Alejandro and Tyler got attacked by the facehuggers. So I think Alejandro would be able to convince Izzy to help them without an incentive. So this means that Izzy would help Alejandro and Tyler without anything that she gets in return. She's just being nice. So the challenge still goes. Team Amazon would still win, sending Team Chris back to elimination. Alejandro and Tyler would probably want to vote out Owen for being not useful in challenges. So I think Alejandro would try to come up with a scheme be- because he wants to convince Izzy to vote for Owen. But that wouldn't work because Izzy is not voting for Owen. But I think in this elimination ceremony, Owen still isn't very threatened by Alejandro, so I think Owen would probably vote for Tyler because I remember Tyler got pretty banged up this episode, but it wasn't enough to get him taken out of the game. Izzy would probably vote for Alejandro, which makes this a 2-2, a 2-1 vote, meaning Owen is eliminated. At the end, I think Izzy would probably break up with Owen before he takes the jump, and Owen would be very sad. Moving on to the next episode, um, things really doesn't really change. I don't know if Alejandro flirts with Courtney anymore because she doesn't really have a reason to. But I think Alejandro sees Courtney as a strong competitor, so he would want her gone. So Alejandro would start flirting with her. Gwen and Courtney would still have their feud. Heather and Gwen would still want to vote out Courtney for throwing the last challenge. Heather wants to vote out Courtney for throwing challenges, and Cody will be on their side. So right now it's 3 votes for Courtney and 2 for Gwen, supposedly. But during the challenge, I don't think Izzy would get lost like Owen because the camels would be able to carry Izzy. So I think Team Chris would get first place. And that would leave Team Amazon with the garden clippers and the Team Chris with the shavers things, whatever it's called. Anyways, I think Team Chris would still win. I think Tyler would probably have the one moment where Tyler jumps off, where Sierra jumped off without the bungee cord. I think Tyler would do that now, meaning Tyler would get hurt, but not bad enough to get him taken out of the game, similar to Sierra. And Izzy or Alejandro would be able to pull the winning sheep and win the challenge for their team. Everything would stay the same for Team Amazon elimination. Gwen would still go because of the tie. So we move on to the next episode, Sweet and Sour. This episode will probably remain exactly the same with Team Amazon. Team Chris, however, I think Izzy would be able to try to be able to pull Tyler to her side because he knows Alejandro cannot be trusted. So for the first part of the challenge where they build the boat, or what's supposed to be a boat, I think that they wouldn't know it's a boat because Alejandro, because Owen isn't there anymore, or Duncan isn't there anymore, and Alejandro wouldn't know, but I think they would probably still build a boat because I don't think that they would have anything else. And Izzy's also very smart now because she's Brainzilla, so she'll be able to figure it out. So Team Amazon would still build Gwen's face, causing Heather to be angry, and causing Sierra and Heather to have a fight before the song. And I think that everything would remain the same here except for Team Amazon. And for Team Chris, I think Alejandro and Izzy would elect Tyler to be the captain because they're both trying to be on his good side. So nothing really changes for this whole episode's plot per se. Team Chris would probably still win. The fake elimination of Courtney would still happen, but this would be only a reward challenge. Moving on to the third aftermath, everything will remain the same except in the original, Tyler was the one that was competing in the second chance challenge, and I think it would probably be like Owen or something, I guess. So, but it wouldn't matter because Owen would probably still roll the same number as Tyler and get eliminated in the first round. But if really Blainley would still be able to win here. Blainley would still be able to win the challenge and come into the game now. And moving on to episode 14, I mean, not 14, 19 comes the merge with everyone there. So the challenge really remains the same, pretty much, except we now have one extra girl in Blainley. So that means that, uh, this means that Blainley and okay, so the pairs for this challenge, I think, would still be Alejandro and Heather. And for the second role, Blainey would probably roll Izzy, I'm guessing. And Tyler and Courtney would be paired together, and Sierra and Cody would be paired together. I don't know what everything would remain the same for Alejandro and Heather and Sierra and Cody, but I think Blainey and Izzy would probably want to work together because Izzy knows that Alejandro is a big threat, and Blainey has been watching the show, but she likes Alejandro, so she wouldn't want to get him out. So I think Blainey would want to get out Heather instead. and Izzy would agree to this. Courtney probably wouldn't have anything going on. Tyler would probably try to make small talk, and Courtney would shut him down. And originally, Tyler didn't. I mean, Courtney didn't flirt with Tyler, so I don't think anything would happen there. So it's kind of awkward between the two. I think that they would still probably win the challenge because really, if Duncan and Courtney can win, I think Tyler and Courtney could probably win too. And Alejandro would still tell Heather that they need to. I think Alejandro would tell Heather that they need to get out Izzy because she is very suspicious of him. But she wouldn't say that. She would just say that she's very smart now and be a threat in the challenges. And Heather doesn't want Izzy gone. Heather wanted Courtney gone. But since Courtney won immunity with Tyler, she would reluctantly agree to vote out Izzy. And because Alejandro saw Sierra and Cody quote unquote get married, and he would be the only eyewitness and be able to convince Sierra to vote for and be able to convince Sierra to vote for Izzy as well. And Courtney is going to vote with Alejandro because Alejandro's flirting with her, and Tyler will probably vote with Alejandro, which only leaves Blainley and Izzy on the outs, with Cody obviously going to vote for Sierra. So in a 5-2-1 vote, Izzy is eliminated. Which, I mean, it's probably surprising because she's like the main focus of the video. But this still does change a lot. We still have Tyler here. In episode 20, because Izzy's gone, Blainley wouldn't have any more allies, so she would still make the announcement at the front of the plane and make an alliance with Chef. And for this challenge, it pretty much remains exactly the same. Chris wouldn't really be paying much attention because he's getting a bunch of calls from the producers still. Alejandro and Courtney would still be flirting, and Tyler starts to fear that Alejandro isn't needing him anymore. But Cody would still talk with with Cody about Sierra and wanting to get her out. And Heather agrees to this and saying that she needs to also work on Tyler to be able to ensure that they stay together, that they can have a majority to vote out Sierra. So Heather talks with Tyler to vote out Sierra next, and Tyler says he have to look back for it with Alejandro. He have to talk it over with Alejandro, and Heather warns him about Alejandro and how he can't be trusted. And Heather reminds him that Alejandro has flirted with Bridget, and Alejandro has flirted with Bridget and flirted with Lashana, and now flirting with Courtney. And Tyler sees this and starts to get worried about Alejandro. So during the challenge, I think everything would remain the same. I think Tyler would now have the bike instead of Duncan because I mean I don't really know. I mean it's randomized, it's kind of random, but I think that that would still happen because it's just Tyler replacing Duncan here. But I think everything would remain the same. Courtney would still not pass the finish line because she hits a landmine and would help Alejandro cheat in the challenge. I don't think Tyler would be very good at this challenge because we know Tyler isn't very good at challenges in general. I don't think he's very good at eating either. So I think Sierra would still win immunity. And I think the eliminations still remain the same. I mean, uh, I think Alejandro, we have the votes for Blainley probably being Alejandro, Courtney, maybe Tyler, and Cody's voting for Sierra, which leaves Sierra, Heather, and Blainley to vote for Courtney. I think Sierra or Tyler's votes could flip easily. I think Tyler would probably still vote for Alejandro because he doesn't want Alejandro to be suspicious that he's flipping on him. But either way, it's still a tie, and Courtney and Blainley would still be voted out. So in episode 21, it's kind of hard to tell what would happen now because obviously Duncan's not here anymore. But Sierra and Cody would still be in first class and Sierra would still give Cody the T, meaning Cody would be out of commission for the challenge. I don't think Tyler would be very good at the first part of the challenge because, I mean, well, it's Tyler. He can't really hit anything. Despite even if he did hit it with a bat, I don't think he'd be able to do it. Meaning Tyler wouldn't get very many trank balls. I think whenever Alejandro takes Heather's tranquilizers, Tyler would be really upset because he doesn't like cheating. And during the challenge, Heather would still try to help Sierra with Cody whenever he gets taken by the monkeys, and Heather would try to help Cody to get Sierra out. But during the challenge, there wouldn't really be anyone that Alejandro would want to sabotage. Obviously, he wouldn't want to sabotage Heather, and he knows that Sierra would be too busy with Cody to worry about the challenge. So I still do think Alejandro would win easily here. So for this vote, I think that they'd probably want to just get rid of Sierra because they already know Cody's voting for Sierra. So I think Alejandro would be able to convince Tyler and Heather to vote for Sierra as well. Especially since he won immunity, they'd want to do what Alejandro says. So Sierra would be eliminated. For this episode, Alejandro would still bring Cody to first class, making Tyler and Heather very angry because Heather, obviously, because Alejandro was working with her in the challenge, and Tyler because they've been working together pretty much this whole season. So during the challenge, Heather and Tyler would still go together, and I think Heather would probably try to convince Tyler to vote for Alejandro at the next elimination, and Tyler would agree. But after But I think Cody would not have, Tyler would not have the hatched egg, and that would bring up Cody Jr. And Cody would start to, and Tyler would start to think, Cody, if this is the same finale as last season where it's a jury vote, Cody would win easily against any of them, especially with Sierra advocating for Cody. So Heather sees this as very interesting and considers voting for Cody next time. And Heather tells Cody that, and Heather tells Tyler that if Alejandro loses this challenge, then she'll vote for Cody, and Tyler agrees. This challenge still plays out the same. Heather would still win, and at elimination, I think Tyler would probably be able to convince Alejandro to vote for Cody. And because Heather wouldn't really want to vote for Alejandro this early, I think in a 3-1, where Cody probably votes for Tyler, maybe because Heather's immune, Cody would be eliminated, but this is a non-elimination episode, so it wouldn't matter. Heather would probably still bring Alejandro to first class because it's strategic. I don't know if Heather would bring Alejandro or bring Tyler to first class because, well, Tyler and Heather were working together in that challenge, but she probably would want to bring Alejandro to first class instead. So I still do think she would bring Alejandro, and this would bring Tyler to be angry at Heather. I think Alejandro would probably try to come up with something to because he has an alliance with now everyone in the game. So I don't know if Alejandro would want to sabotage anything right now. But I think maybe Alejandro would be able to think of like something. Maybe doing the same thing he did with Cody and Heather sitting together in loser class, but maybe now Cody and Lindsay sitting together, which obviously would make Tyler very angry at Cody and would vote out Cody for sure next time. Because Heather tells Alejandro, I think Heather would snitch to Alejandro that Tyler is planning on flipping on him. So Alejandro would try to ensure that Tyler wouldn't flip and want to vote for Cody. So this challenge roughly remains the same. I don't really know what would happen for the first part with the dinosaurs. Heather, Alejandro, and Cody would make the same ones. I don't think Tyler would make something like that. I think Tyler would probably make something along the lines of Lindsay, and it probably wouldn't be very good and wouldn't get any votes. So really, I don't think they're going to vote for Cody's poop dinosaur. I think that they'd probably vote for Heather's because Heather or Alejandro's because theirs was obviously the best. And even though this was like a contestant-based challenge where they can't lie, I think that Heather would probably still win for being Chris. So Heather would win the jackhammer. And for the second prize, I think it was like a pickaxe or something. I think they'll probably go to Alejandro, and one of them would get like a pail and shovels, and the other would get nothing. I think Cody's probably would still get nothing, and Tyler would get the pail and shovels. But Tyler would probably want to stay very much away from Cody, And Cody would still go up to Tyler and discuss voting out Heather next. And Tyler says that he's very angry at Cody, and Cody asks why, and Tyler shows him the picture. Cody is confused and gives Tyler a very good reason why he didn't do it. Cody says how would Sierra leave him alone long enough for him to sit with Lindsay in loser class, and Tyler realizes that Alejandro lied to him and tells Cody about that. I think maybe Tyler would win this challenge because, well, originally Sierra won this challenge, and since Heather is stuck in the boulder, she wouldn't be able to do the challenge, and Alejandro would be helping her. So it's either Cody or Alejandro, and since Cody has nothing and Tyler has a pail and shovel, it would take a long time, but I think Tyler would be able to dig up the barrel first and win immunity. And before elimination, even though Heather promised Alejandro she wouldn't vote for him, Tyler would go up to Heather, and tell her to vote for Alejandro. Heather would be skeptical and realize that this is probably her best move for the game to win challenges. So in a 3-1 vote, Alejandro would be eliminated because I don't think anyone would care that it's Cody's birthday, so they wouldn't go and get a cake or whatever. So this leaves the final three being Tyler, Cody, and Heather. And really, I don't really know how this would go. I mean, obviously, everything would happen with the aftermath. Blainley would still be on Heather's team. Blainley would still be on Heather's team, and it would be Owen helping her. Lindsay would be the representative for Tyler, and Sierra would be the representative for Cody. So, as for what animal that Lindsay probably thinks Tyler is, I think it would be funny if they pick a goat, because obviously they were making fun of Tyler being a goat before. So, I think that it would be possible that he would pick a goat. And I wonder who would win this challenge, because I don't know. I think the same thing would happen with Sierra, originally with Harold getting Cody and making it to the deer, and the deer eating the lay. So I think that would still happen with Sierra, which leaves Lindsay and Heather. I mean, which leaves Lindsay and Owen and slash Blainley to do it. I don't think Blainley would be able to do it, so this leaves Lindsay to possibly somehow win. And I think that uh this would still happen, and Lindsay would probably somehow win, same way how Courtney won originally with Alejandro. So Tyler would get the big reward for the challenge of a wheelbarrow, and Cody would still get the baby carriage, and Heather would still get Zip. So for the next challenge, Alejandro would still be there because this is pretty much like right after Alejandro got voted out, and he wouldn't be able to make it to the aftermath because I think they would still have their elimination in Drumheller. So Alejandro confronts Heather for voting for him, and Heather tells him to get over it because the game is over now. Because his game is over now. So Alejandro would say fair enough and leave. And Alejandro would tell Chris on where he's supposed to go, and Chris would tell him to think of it on his own, leaving Alejandro to be angry. So for this challenge, not Alejandro, Tyler and Cody would be working together probably because they probably want to have a non-evil person finale. I think Heather would still have well, first of all, the challenge. It's impossible to predict what other challenge it would be. So I think the challenge would still remain the same, where Chris tells them to go find their own way to Hawaii. So they make it. So for the challenge, Tyler and Cody would stick together, and Heather would go on her own. And I think Heather would have the same idea as Alejandro, picking the production train, and Tyler and Cody would soon follow. But uh, for this challenge, it's pretty much the same the entire time. Cody and Tyler would probably still see the Zeke, even though Heather's in the train. She would probably get out of the animal area and not care that Zeke is there either way. So Tyler and Cody would probably feel bad. I mean, more so just Tyler, and release Zeke into the train. Everything would go haywire with the train, and Heather would go on top. And while Cody and Tyler are fighting Zeke, they hear footsteps at the top and are confused at what's going on. So they go on the top too and see Heather running atop the train. Heather yells at them and tells them to get down because she wouldn't want them to get hurt. But really, she's just going to the other train to release the car so that her train would go faster. And Tyler and Cody probably sees this, and Tyler plays dumb. Not plays dumb. He is dumb. He's gonna say she wouldn't do that. And Cody tells Tyler, "It's Heather. Of course she would do that." So Heather just does it in front of them, meaning that they would have to make a jump to do so to get to the other train. And I think that Tyler would probably try and fail miserably. The song portion would still happen, and after that, I think Tyler would still be on the ground and see a bunch of horses and be able to ride them. Cody would still be on the not moving train, and Tyler would tell Cody to hop on whenever he rides by. So Cody and Tyler are riding on the horses while Heather's still on the train. Because the horses caught up with Alejandro caught up to the train on the horses, I think that would still happen with Tyler and Cody. So they make it to the train and try to sneak on while Heather's still on there, and they would all make it to Mexico at the same time. Heather would be shocked that everyone is there at the same time, but she would still get on the get on the boat first and right away. Cody and Tyler would be neck and neck the entire time, but since Heather was in front of them, I don't think that Heather would hit any landmines or anything. So Heather would make it to Hawaii first, and the peanut gallery would still be very angry. And I think Alejandro would now be there, and Alejandro would probably be the only other person on Team Heather still. Even though he's angry at Heather for voting him out, I think he would still be rooting for Heather. But that doesn't really matter. I don't really know who wins out of Tyler and Cody. So because they're like together and went at the same time, they'll probably still tie, meaning no one gets eliminated this episode. Uh, but whoever gets eliminated here will be third place and not win the finale. So Heather still chooses the challenge. So I think it would really just stay the same. It'll still be the thing. I don't remember what it was called. The death challenge thing, whatever. And I don't think that Heather would try either way to sabotage either of them because I mean she has no chance at winning in a jury vote here. She's just happy to make it to the finale and is just praying for a challenge instead of a vote. So I don't really know who wins here. I'm gonna say Tyler wins this challenge because I mean Cody. It would be cool if Cody won, but I think that Alejandro would still be able to. I mean, not Alejandro. Tyler would be able to beat Ala. I can't talk. Tyler would be able to beat Cody. I mean, this is like his first, like actual win. So moving on, we have the finale being Heather versus Tyler. Who's the helper for Heather? I think is obviously going to be Alejandro, and the helper for Tyler is obviously going to be Lindsay. But oh yeah, there's two helpers. I forgot. Heather's helpers would probably be. I don't know who Heather's helpers would be. To be honest, maybe Cody still because Cody would be interested in because of how Heather's. No, I don't think it would be Cody actually. I don't know. I think that Heather would probably be at a disadvantage with only Alejandro opting to help her, and Tyler having Lindsay and maybe someone like uh I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe Izzy because Tyler and Izzy were kind of bonding in the episode that in the prior episodes where she was there. But really, this doesn't really matter who the helpers are. Maybe Courtney would also help Heather because Alejandro's helping Heather. But the helpers don't really matter. Tyler would have his wheelbarrow and Heather would have nothing. And even though Cody's not a helper anymore, she still wouldn't have anything, so she'd still have to carry the statue of Tyler. Obviously, I think it would probably be lighter because Tyler is skinnier than Alejandro. Muscled as Alejandro. So Heather would probably be able to carry it with help from probably Alejandro. At the rope cutting area, I think it would probably remain the same, where like Courtney accidentally cuts a rope against Heather, and Heather would get very angry. Tyler would be very clumsy and almost fall, but Lindsay would try to help him. Um, I think Courtney would probably think of an idea to get Lindsay away by the same way as Cody did, or Alejandro would say something too, and causing Lindsay to run away and leaving Tyler only with Izzy. Izzy would because Izzy is probably still Brainzilla. She'd be able to calculate which ropes are for Heather or against Heather and which are against Tyler. Cut the rope would cut the rope of the cage and it lands on Heather. And Izzy would help Tyler land on which spots to go on to be able to go. So the helpers are no longer helpful after this part. So Tyler makes it across and runs as fast as he can. Heather starts to give up, but Alejandro gives her a pep talk and asking if she's really gonna give up after she's come this close. And Heather still says something about it's better if Tyler wins because Tyler's the good guy and she's the bad guy. And Alejandro tells Heather that he is her good guy and that Alejandro is rooting for her and that he needs her. And Heather blushes and is able to knock over the cage and get across the platforms. Heather still runs with the statue and catches up with Tyler. Tyler is surprised that Heather made it out, and Heather tells Tyler that she's not going to give up. At the end, uh, it really doesn't matter who wins. I think both endings would have something to do with Zeke and being like tackling one of them, causing one of either Heather or Tyler to throw theirs into the either Heather or Tyler to throw their statue, not statue, like tribute, I guess, into the volcano. And either ending, I think it would be good. I think Heather would probably be the original ending, to be honest. But Tyler would probably also get his alternate ending. And in both endings, I think Alejandro and Heather would kiss. So there you have it. This is what if Izzy wasn't medically evacuated in Total Drama World Tour. I mean, it's kind of weird because Izzy got eliminated pretty early on in the merge, but this is how I think it would have played out if Izzy wasn't medically evacuated. If you want to see more what ifs like this, then tune in. You can watch more, can suggest more. I like these. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.